Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Before I introduce the crew, I want to finally say it's out, my book. And that happens to be Lessons from the Microphone, available on Amazon. So it's been a long time getting that together, and now we can put it out there, and hopefully everybody can benefit by it. And now I want to introduce my crew, George Eichhorn. Welcome back, George.
Oh, great being here tonight, guys.
And we have Travis Sherlock Holmes.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Bo wants to talk, and Bo will get a chance to talk.
Fair enough. Good to see you guys.
I have my Chris Berman hat on tonight. No, kidding. Kale Lombardia loves to talk college football. He'll do that and then some.
Good to be here, guys.
And we have our coach, Coach John Bonamago.
Great to be here.
And last but not least, Mel Farr Jr. Glad to have you, Coach.
Hello, guys.
All right, well, we have a pretty busy agenda today, and boy, it's a very expensive one to start it out. Jimbo Fisher, let's talk about his buyout at Texas A&M. As you've heard by now, he was fired by the Texas A&M Aggies, was $76.8 million buyout, a.k.a. Bobby Bonilla. He's going to get $26,301 a day for not doing anything. He's going to get payments within 60 days of $19.4 million, within 120 days, $7.2 million, and then from 2025 to 2031, $7.27 million, and he gets paid, and he could still get another job. Tell you, George, not bad money if you can get it.
Oh man, those numbers are staggering, Scott. I mean, $76 million buyout. Oh, think the things that he could do, but he's probably one that will be looking obviously for another job. He's not going to go, out to pasture, as they say. I was a little surprised. I mean, I know that coaches take the blame for so much that goes wrong on any team, especially in college football. But boy, oh boy, that is a hell of a lot of money that you're not paying him. Or, well, you're paying him, but you're not going to get any services rendered from him. So I was a little bit surprised by it, but I guess I shouldn't be because, coaches are hired and fired so fast nowadays. It just keeps going on and on and on.
Let me tell you, in the state of Texas, oil money and a lot of wealthy boosters can certainly help you take care of that bill. Right, Travis Holmes?
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I mean, that's legit. That's the point. Who's hurt by this situation? Like, he's balling out of control. Jimbo's balling out of control. At the university, they're fine. I mean, most of these contracts, even when they're millions and millions of dollars, the actual cost that the school's paying, you're just talking six figures probably. And even Nick Saban, it was only like $300,000 is what the actual school's paying. So you're not talking big money. They took a shot in the dark and it didn't work. And there's basically going to be a GoFundMe for all these millionaires and billionaires. And they'll be like, all right, we're going to do it again. Let's see who we can get this go around. In the meantime, there's not enough money to pay the kids.
All right, Bo.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where the sign-up sheet to flame out and get $76 million is, because I will be first in line. I'll wait in however long it is. Man, that's quite the buyout. But I mean, if the NFL is any indication, they don't care about paying coaches to not coach.
Right, that's true. All right, Carol Lombardi, you love
college. A couple of weeks ago, Texas Aggie gave the school $160 million. I think it was a week or so ago. So I think that probably was part of the buyout, and then get another coach. But I think they're damn fools if they pay anybody that kind of money again.
Oh, Coach Bono, I know you're retired, but my goodness, I'm sure you wish you had that kind of coin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a leverage game. I think, I don't. You never feel the saying is you never feel bad for the head coach, right? Who you feel bad for are the staff, all the underlings, the guys that now have to go, whose contracts probably run through June. And, have to pack up and try to find work elsewhere, and so, that's who really suffers in this. And then, but I mean, I thought when he got that deal, I thought it was a little bit steep, especially since, he was however many years away removed from, Florida State actually being good. You know what I mean? The wheels were starting to fall off at Florida State, towards the end of Jimbo's tenure, and kind of the word on the street was he got out of there just in the nick of time. And they went from bad to worse, and now Norvell, whose name is going to be, really high up there on the on the coaching carousel, has finally gotten them back to where they're what we're a football program. So I certainly don't feel bad for Jimbo. That's great for him. A&M's one of those places they have it. Trust me, before they made the decision to fire him, they knew that they were going to have the money that it would take to allow him to walk, and whatever it's going to take to go and find the next coach, because they're not going to, A&M can't just go hire an unknown or an unproven guy. They've got to go now they got to go get a legitimate guy, and there's going to be a price tag for that. So see what happens.
No.
A&M is they are delusional. They're not really dealing with reality. A&M, although they have a lot of money, it's not a great job, I don't believe. And you're talking about the guy from Oregon coming down there. Oregon's a better job than an A&M job. When they hired Jimbo Fisher was about to get fired, not too far from getting fired at Florida State. So A&M actually saved him. And then when the LSU job became available, and there was talk that he might go to LSU, so they felt the need to go in there and give him some more money. This is the same college football that states that they don't have enough money to pay the student athletes out there. Just in 11 years, from 2010 to 2021, it's over $500 million that has been paid out to coaches who weren't coaching. This in 2022, it's going to be close to $150 million that's paid out. This is the NCAA that says they're broke and they can't pay the players. Jimbo Fisher's buyout is more than some Power 5 schools' entire athletic department budget. A&M, what bothers me is, yes, it is a state university. If it's a billionaire making these kind of mistakes, I really don't have a problem. But these are state schools making these types of mistakes, spending this type of money. I mean, it's an athletic director and a president, I guess, maybe of the school, because I don't think the athletic director can do this unilaterally. Right. Just do this by himself, put that kind of money out there. But this is astronomical type of money. NFL coaches aren't getting this kind of money. But A&M, really, they need to look at themselves and understand that they're not that program. I can't remember where is A&M at? What part of Texas are they in?
College Station.
I don't know what kind of town
60
College
miles
Station is. But they haven't been relevant or won a national championship, I think, since the early 1900s.
1939.
Early to mid 1900. When was it?
1939.
Okay,
Wow.
there we go.
The
1939.
only national championship they ever won.
Bear Bryant was there for a moment, with the Junction Boys or whatever it was. And, I don't know how good they were back then, but I mean, they're just not that program. They're kind of like Michigan State is to Michigan. They're just the little brother. So they need to have a reality check. There may be plenty of money there, but they don't have the type of money that Texas has, I don't believe. That obviously that Alabama has, and some of these other programs, Georgia. They should have stayed in the Big 12. That probably would have been better for them. But when they came over to the SEC, this is big boy football, big boy football, and they're kind of getting a taste of it.
All right. Number one, I read today Dan Lanning of Oregon isn't going anywhere. Number two, if Phil Knight has anything to say about it, he's going to make sure there's plenty of money there as well. So, and Deion Sanders staying at Colorado, and I know there's been talk about it there. So let me just point out before we go any further that Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world, the audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida
You
Tribune.
know,
We're looking for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Edling is behind the scenes. And as I showed to you, and it's also on my right screen, my book is Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, and you can get it on Kindle or Amazon. With that said, we go from Texas A&M to the University of Michigan, Jim Harbaugh. So my only question really here is, was due process served? He's serving a 3-game suspension but can coach at practice. Okay, George, you're the resident Detroiter.
Well, was due process served? I don't think so. I guess the Big Ten is saying, well, here's what we had. We laid it out, and you were replying to it, which the university did. 10-page reply, I forget what it was, but then they came down with the punishment. There, as far as I know, there was no open hearings or anything like that. I just think it was I think it was very rushed. I really do. It reeks of trying to stymie, if that's a good word. I don't know, but maybe put the skids to Michigan's season. I'm not quite sure what the Big Ten hierarchy and some of his opposing coaches want to do here. The NCAA process takes, as we all know, a long time, and they're looking at this. But the Big Ten's insistence on stepping up and stepping in right away, to me, was a little bit bewildering. And as you guys know, Jim Harbaugh is going to be in the courtroom Friday, which is another silly thing. The judge says, "Oh yeah, come in on Friday." Well, excuse me, they got a game in Maryland the next day, and like they had a game in Penn State the next day, and it's just things like that are really goofy. But he could have made that hearing, is what I'm saying, a day earlier or something like that. But he says, "Okay, well, we'll come to my chamber on Friday." So we'll see what happens there. Quite frankly, I don't expect the judge, even though it's a quote unquote Michigan friendly kind of judge, maybe because he's in Washtenaw County. I don't think he's going to stop it. I really don't, but we'll see. But yeah, Scott, I think it was a little bit rushed.
Okay, Travis.
I mean, of course, due process was not, provided. I mean, that was never the point of this. It was, honestly, someone else. I think actually it might have been Babani Jones, on the, formerly of ESPN, made a point that basically the NCAA and the Big Ten, they're like small town sheriffs. Like the big stuff is done now. Like the big investigations, the money and all of that. That's kind of, those investigations are out of, like, they don't happen anymore because of the NIL money. So now they got to find these other little small niche kind of things to make huge investigations out of, when in reality, some of these things that is kind of a known that they're just happening all over the place, and they're just going to thump their chest and kind of do what they have to do. This was a known that they were going to get him on something this year. Like, it's been pretty obvious from the start. Like, you're talking back into last offseason. Like, this was a known that they were going to try to catch this man on something, whether it's the NCAA or the Big Ten. And the fact that this was rushed, it means pressure was coming from somewhere. And I can't say if it's the NCAA, I can't say, it's the partner schools, whatever it may be, but there was obviously pressure to, hey man, get him out the paint. So no, he didn't get the due process that he probably deserved, because frankly, they don't like him. That's really what it came down to. They just don't like him. Like he just rubs people the wrong way. Maybe like a Bill Belichick. Maybe like he just does things outside of the playbook technically, or outside of the rule book technically, but they're not. It's all this. Well, technically, I didn't break the law, officer, because the speed limit sign was up the street. Like those kind of weird little quirks. And it's just like, all right, man. We're gonna find a way to get you out of the paint on some, on something that's technically in the rules, but not exactly, whatever. And by the time it gets, litigated, we'll be way down the line.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I mean, obviously that he didn't get due process. They've had a witch head out for him all year, right? I mean, he got suspended earlier. There's been noise around the program all season. They were going to push something through no matter what. In a way, it actually kind of helps him because when he does the appeal, it's going to be obvious that they didn't do due process. So he's probably going to miss a game, maybe two, and from there he'll get to coach the rest of the season. He'll get to coach through the playoffs. I mean, ultimately, it's probably not going to matter, but he has a very grating personality. That's why he flames out everywhere he goes. It certainly isn't because he doesn't win, because he wins at every stop he's at. They just, wherever he is, they get tired of his personality. They force him out of the room. So I think that's essentially what the Big Ten is doing at this point. Like, it's not, the Niners or a school or something like that. It's an entire conference that's like, you should kick rocks. And so that's got to be a weird spot to be. But yeah, I mean, they were going to push it through no matter what.
They are.
I feel the same way, but I think it's they're rushing this. Did he know anything about it? He had to know about it. That low staff guy that wasn't at the game, he was scouting somebody else. It's pretty obvious. But you got to give him due process. And why do they have that? But I think you can get a judge to have an injunction. It's been done before. So, until they really go to have a real court hearing on this. I don't think the Big Ten could just snap at that on Friday. I would think that in Michigan somewhere, some judge would issue an injunction to let him coach. But I think they pulled the trigger too fast.
Coach Bono.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great points. I look at it from this standpoint that when it comes to universities, the NCAA conferences, man, it's not the same due process that you get in a court of law. In this country where you're innocent until proven guilty. In university settings, especially when you deal with, you ask anybody that's dealt with any type of Title IX type of thing. I mean, you are guilty until proven innocent. I remember, when I was head coach at Central, we had a player that it was just an allegation, that something happened, and while they were investigating, I mean, the kid had to sit down, and missed 6 games, comes out at the end, he's innocent, but he doesn't get those games back, so definitely I think this is just a matter of, the league trying to suffice all the other members, right? I mean, everybody's screaming, everybody's up in arms. This thing was, it's unprecedented. So I think they're trying to suffice the rest of the members of the league. They need to set a precedent so that this doesn't, happen again, or nobody else gets an idea to do it. And unfortunately, it's the way it is. It's a messy, ugly situation, and I empathize with everybody involved. The other teams, Michigan. Jim, coach said, I mean, did he know what was going on? We don't know, but it's kind of hard to believe that he didn't suspect something was going on. So it's an ugly deal.
Mel.
This is not a court of law. I mean, what is due process? The NCAA investigating it and finding out stuff. I mean, they got information. I think this is much to do about nothing, to be honest with you. I mean, I think you still got to stop. You still got to stop the play, whatever it is, whether it's run or pass. If it's run or pass, you still got to stop whatever play that is. It's a slap on the wrist infraction. Hey, you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar. All right, don't do that no more. Let's move on and let's just keep it going. So, I really don't understand what due process is. Now, what due process is in this particular case. I mean, they're not going to go to court. The NCAA is the one's going to make the decision, or the Big Ten is going to be the one to make a decision. They made a decision. Really, the decision is somewhat a slap on the wrist. He gets to coach all week, and he just can't be on the sidelines during the games. Now, does that mean he can't be on the telephone contacting somebody up in the booth? I don't know. But we know he just can't be on the sidelines during the games. And maybe something that galvanizes the team, and they're able to rally around, and who knows how far this will take them.
Yeah, you know what? Every one of y'all make great points. Here's the thing. Bo makes I like the word witch hunt. Two, they're trying to make an example out of them, and they're doing that. Now, the one thing that could really stick it to all those, everybody in the Big Ten, would be, number one, he's already beaten Penn State at their place, winning against Maryland. But just imagine this. If for some reason Harbaugh does not coach against Ohio State, but they beat Ohio State anywhere, the punishment's been served. What have you proved? Okay. So I don't feel due process was served, but obviously, like all you guys have pointed out, to me, it's more of a matter of trying to go out there and, let's face reality. As I said, make an example out of this guy. But you know what? He goes on record saying that Michigan could be America's team because they're all, this guy plays chess better than anybody I've ever seen anybody play. Yeah. I mean, he could spin it anyway. He knows the chess game better than anybody. Come after me all you want. But if for some reason or another they win these 3 games, what's the Big Ten going to say next? Can't do anything. You got what you wanted. You still couldn't beat them. Go figure. So, all right. Well, you know what? We do have some NFL news today, and that's it. Buffalo Bills fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. Joe Brady will take over as the interim offensive coordinator. The moves come after a 24-22 loss to Denver. The team falls to 5-5. It looks like Josh Allen is regressing. The Bills had the ball only 22 minutes on offense and 4 turnovers. So how accountable should head coach Sean McDermott be? Okay, George, we'll start off with you.
Well, he does have to be accountable. I mean, he's the head coach, and it looks like they're looking for a scapegoat. I mean, the halfway point of the season, obviously management, ownership is not very happy with what's going on in Buffalo right now. Obviously, they were one of the teams that were, along with a couple others, the Chiefs and the Bengals. They're looking to be a playoff and a nice playoff run like they usually do. But I'll tell you what, they're making too many turnovers. So you look on the field and you say, what's going on wrong here? It all started back at training camp when they had the tension amongst themselves and the players at training camp. And now I think that, I think the head coach has to be accountable. Did Dorsey deserve it? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I'm not there to see it firsthand, but I really think that they're grasping for straws at this point, obviously looking for a scapegoat.
What do you think, Travis?
This is a wild thing. I mean, it was a known that someone was going to get fired. Honestly, just because of the way that the NFL works, I assumed it was going to be someone lower on the totem pole, some assistant somewhere, or special teams coordinator. No offense, I know we love special teams. I'm just saying that was my 12 guys on the field. That was my initial knee-jerk reaction. Hey, I spent a good hour in Bill's Mafia Twitter spaces last night. Like, it was my entertainment just listening to them just melt down. So I'm hearing everything from the people closest to this, and it was just great. But in reference to this, in reference to this specifically, it's wild because McDermott made himself the defensive coordinator. Then they end up blitzing on 2 plays, getting a deep pass interference to basically essentially give the game away. If this play doesn't happen, that he still has a job, right? Like, this is a weird thing. And then he fires the offensive coordinator, who's they haven't been doing as good as they originally did the first 5 weeks of the season, but they're still like 8th in points scored as a team. Like, they're 8th in points scored in top 5 in literally every DVOA I can find. I'm like, wait, what? That's who you fired? I don't have an answer for that. They were first in success rate. I mean, but again, Dorsey had his issues. Like, he was super aggressive on coming out of the goal line. He was super conservative in the middle of the field once they got away from those, when they're entering field goal range. Every offensive coordinator has their issues, has some things that they can work on. Like, but we're in the middle of a small struggle, we'll call it a small scenario, a small issue with their offense over a few weeks trying to get right while their defense is going through some changes. That's not fireable. That's not close to fireable. It was wild, and I really pray and hope that the Jaguars call him immediately. And hey, man, hire him as an offensive water boy assistant. I don't care, something. Please get him on staff.
Okay. What do you think, Bo?
I just like that Travis is bringing marshmallows to this dumpster fire. Like he's like, I am here for it. Yeah, I mean, them firing him, like, that's a scapegoat action for sure. That's to basically direct attention away from McDermott, because, I mean, there was no way that this is his fault. The fact that Allen is leading the league in interceptions, as far as I know, the offensive coordinator doesn't throw the ball, right? I'm pretty sure that's the quarterback making bad decisions. So I don't really see how your OC gets fired for that. Outside of that, to Travis's point, is they're top in the league in scoring points. I think Josh Allen actually has thrown the most touchdowns. So, it's not that the offense hasn't been effective. They've just turned the ball over a lot. And, coaches can only do so much if the players don't execute. So, I feel like that was just kind of a weird firing, but you knew someone was getting fired after the way they melted down.
Okay. KR?
I agree. They use him as a scapegoat. They bring in Joe Brady, who got fired in Carolina. And he did a great job at LSU, no doubt about that. But
with Joe Barrow.
So it's just one of those things. You got to have a scapegoat, and McDermott can't fire himself. And let's face it, they thought they were going to be in the Super Bowl, and they look like they're going to be.
Coach?
Man, this is I've never been a fan of in-season firings. I really think that's like the absolute last resort. I mean, if it's a conduct thing, that's different, but I always ask the question, okay, how's this going to make you better? How's this make you better? Demote the guy, keep him in the building, though. It's still an asset for you, and move forward. But it is definitely, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's somebody's listening to, somebody's in on that Twitter feed and hearing all the outside noise, and you're reacting to that. And I mean, look, I've been a head coach. The worst thing in the world is having to fire somebody, and I always felt like, as a head coach, if I had to let somebody go, then somewhere along the line, I failed. I didn't give him the help he needed. I didn't give him the feedback. I didn't intervene. I always looked at it from the standpoint of, where did I let this individual down? How did I fail him in order to lead to that? So I just don't like it. I don't like the in-season stuff. I think, man, the better thing is to, stick with your people, because now what happens, everybody in that building's looking around and saying, well, who's next? Who's going to be next? And if we don't get this fixed, then we're all going to be gone. And now you start, you can't coach scared. You can't coach worried about your job. It's just not a good situation. And, again, I'll reiterate, I'm digressing, but I hate in-season firings. I just don't believe in it fundamentally.
It's okay. Good point. All right, Mel?
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised by it, to be honest with you. I guess I could see if it was a quarterback coach, somebody's a little bit closer to Josh that's really in his ear. I mean, I know the offensive coordinator and the quarterbacks should have a certain type of relationship. But this time of year, I was very surprised because offense didn't necessarily. I mean, yeah, they turned the ball over. That doesn't really have a whole lot to do with coaching. Maybe interceptions do. Maybe the type of plays that they're running. Maybe they're trying to take too many deep shots. I don't really know. I didn't watch the entire game, but I know at the end that was a part of the defense was that field goal block team. I mean, that might be a special team, but that's generally the defensive unit that's out there, and that's the side of the ball that he controls. And how somebody can, how there can be an extra person out there. I mean, you rep these things so many times, and I think that even came after a timeout or some.
Yeah, they called the
timeout. Yeah, I mean, there was stoppage. How does that happen after? I don't understand that. I mean, you get 11 guys in the huddle on the sidelines, and make sure you're counting them up, and you make sure you got 11, and those 11 go out there. If one extra one goes out there, there's a problem. So I mean, anybody deserves probably a plane ticket home would be that 12th person that was out there that cost them the game, because I don't think this happens if they don't get that second shot at that field goal from 5 yards closer.
All right. I have a couple interesting points. Number one, Matthew Stafford equals gunslinger. Brett Favre equals gunslinger. Josh Allen equals gunslinger. When you throw a lot of passes, you're going to get a lot of touchdowns. You're going to get a lot of interceptions, period. Now, you want to talk about one of the most interesting firings I've ever seen. George knows it well as well as I do. Rod Marinelli decides to let Mike Martz go. Okay, so Black Monday produced an offensive coordinator firing Mike Martz. What happens? The Lions go 0-16. Go figure.
Oh, yeah.
So
Exactly.
we'll leave it at that. All right, so now we're bringing this segment back. Everybody's game of the week. All right, George Eichhorn, lead off.
Oh my gosh, where do we start? There's so many good ones.
You only need one, pal. We don't have that much time.
I know. Well, I'm going to take San Francisco. I did not expect them to blow out Jacksonville. The Jaguars are obviously hurting. The offensive line is not as good as it should be. They're just not looking as good and sharp as they should have. San Francisco, meanwhile, Brock Purdy had a hell of a game. I know a lot of people were concerned about him the last several weeks with the losses piling up, but San Francisco had a hell of a boost by blowing out Jacksonville. And the fact of the matter is that we got a lot of interesting scenarios too, because then there was that other team that lost, but I won't mention that because I don't want to take it from anybody else. So that's my game of the week. San Fran handling Jacksonville so handily.
Yeah. Let me add one point to it before I turn it over to Mr. Jacksonville, okay? And that's it. The Jacksonville here, Jaguars can win in London, okay, and they win on the road, but they can't win in 904. So go figure. Home is not sweet.
That's because it's an
home.
away game for them.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth, Bo. Home is not sweet home for the Jaguars. All right, Mr. Jaguar, take over.
Man, it's beneficial at this point that we probably won't have home field advantage to the playoffs. You know what? Because we're undefeated on the road, so I'll take it at this point. It is what it is. I'm gonna find the positive in this. You're not gonna ruin my joy. Sunday was rough enough. So yeah, I wanted to say, I wanted to plead the fifth on this question, just because I can't have a good answer.
Well, that really doesn't surprise me. You of all people.
Yeah, because I was so ready for this Jaguars 49ers game, and that just ruined my weekend.
Give me your game of the week because you're pleaded the fifth on this
Lord. I'm probably going to Broncos Bills just because it did not go as I expected at all. And honestly, we've been laughing at the Broncos all year, and they've somehow duct taped and stapled and just Legoed, whatever you want to call it. They just built a last few games that has you looking at them like, okay, this is looking like an actual team right now. Like, you guys beat the Chiefs, and then they turn around and beat the Bills, and we're like, all right, you guys are doing something now. Russell Wilson, the stats don't show that he looked great, but looking at the game, the man made some incredible, like, young Russell Wilson type plays, and I'm like, all right, this is something. This is dope. I don't know if you can keep this going, but this is now going to be a 500 above 500 team. That's a scrappy little bunch, like I don't know, a Mike Tomlin or a well coached team almost. You would not have said this the first few weeks of the season. There's just no way. Especially after getting demolished by the Miami Dolphins, earlier in the year, like, and they put it together. So, hey, man, kudos.
Okay, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the Texans and the Bengals. That was a fun game to watch. CJ Stroud still showing out. And this is a scrappy Texas team that, man, they're ahead of schedule. I'll put it. And I really like what CJ Stroud is bringing. He was the guy that I thought should have gone number 1 overall instead of Bryce. And I would imagine the Panthers are probably wishing they would have went that route too. But yeah, it's that was my game of the week for sure. That one was fun to watch all the way through.
All right, KR.
I don't really have a game of the week because nothing in pros surprised me anymore. But the game the guy that surprises me, and you got to give him kudos, is Josh Dobbs with the Vikings.
Okay.
When he leaves, he's there 4 days. He takes them to a win. Then they come back again and win again. He has adapted like he's been playing there for 3 years.
Yes.
And I never was a Josh Dobbs fan because I'm a mechanics guy, and I think his throwing mechanics and Coach Bono would that's my coach in me, and I was a quarterback coach. Is that he looks old, but he gets the job done. And I understand his IQ is off the charts. I read that somewhere where his IQ is just off the charts, and he picked up the playbook like immediately. And playbooks in the pros are not like high school or college. You actually call a paragraph when you call the play. And what he's done is amazing. I think it's just absolutely amazing to do that in 2 weeks.
Well, that's a fair. I like that. Okay, Coach Bono.
Man, we've had some good takes. And I knew there would be, and that's why I'm going off the reservation today. And my game of the week was Chicago and Carolina because it was so bad.
You are not wrong.
It was like watching, it was like watching a train wreck. You're going to sit there and watch it, even though you know it's a tragedy. I mean, I think, there wasn't an offensive touchdown scored until like the fourth quarter. I mean, there was the other touchdown was a punt return. Other than that, it was turnovers, field goals, and punts. And it just looked like really bad football. I mean, it's just, but it was entertaining to watch because it was so bad, and it was a Thursday night, and it was Monday night, and it's NFL football. So what else? And that's it.
You know what that game reminded me of? Remember the old program, Football Follies? That was 3 hours of that program.
Yeah.
Coach, I tell you always come up with a good one every show. Boy, you really threw a curveball at us. And we're not even doing baseball today. Good stuff. All right, Mel.
Yeah, I think my game would be the Lions in San Diego, or excuse me, the Chargers. And, this weekend there was a lot of good games, to be honest with you, because there was a lot of closely contested games. There were 6 games with walk-off field goals. I mean, so there's a lot of good games that, kept you on the edge of your seat to the end of the game. But, I like what the Lions did. I like what they're doing. They went out there to a team that, a lot of people feel is a very good team, that they feel they have a very good quarterback, and they did what they needed to do to get a win. And I think that was impressive. I mean, they drove down there, were able to get in field goal range, and the guy gets out there and he drills it, and they get on out of there, and they head back to Detroit with a W. So that was my game.
Well,
man, you know what I liked about the finish of that game, Mel, was the decision Dan Campbell made, which was very gutsy, was to go for it on fourth down when they were in field goal range, just to keep running the clock. I mean, that was a strategic move. I don't know who's in his ear of the analytics, but you got to figure Herbert's on the other side. You don't want to leave. you don't want to give the ball, you don't want to end the game with the ball in his hands, just like you wouldn't want to end the game back in the day with Brady having the ball or Aaron Rodgers having the ball. So I thought that was a ballsy move. It paid off for them, and they get a win on the road. It was great.
So, Coach, where'd you get the word ballsy from? A guy by the name of Jared Goff? Okay. That's what he said. Okay, just I know you're doing your homework on this. You've really come a long way as a
I use
commentator.
that all the time.
That's all right. And let me point out, Coach, I want to elaborate on what you just said here. Number one, okay, the Chargers had scored 5 straight times is what they had done. And I think they would have gone 6 if Campbell doesn't make that move. He really doesn't. And bear in mind, Campbell missed a 4th and 2 earlier in the red zone as well. But he made up for it in the end, and they got the W. Well, you know what? My game of the week isn't in pros, it's in college. And I'm going to be biased toward my Miami Hurricanes, right? 14-point underdogs going into the game, right? We have a freshman quarterback by the name of Emory Williams. Unfortunately, the kid gets hurt at the very end of the game, and we have to bring in Tyler Van Dyke. But I miss Emory Williams. He says to the reporter, great question. How do you not root for a guy like this? But
Scott,
really,
what is his injury? Do you know?
I think it's a forearm injury is what it is. So the way he came down on that arm.
He's out for the year. I know that.
Yeah. But here's the thing about that game that was interesting. I was only hoping that the Hurricanes would at least stay competitive in this game. They were 14-point underdogs. And not only were they competitive, they had a chance to win this thing, even though I had a gut feeling that they would lose. But here's my biggest takeaway from this Florida State-Miami. It's the first time I've ever been to Bobby Fallon Field at Doak Campbell Stadium. And if you've never been to a Florida State Seminoles game, you got to go. I mean, you talk about the way those fans are rabid. It's just something you have to do. And my walk from the media parking garage all the way to the stadium was one which I could have used a heating pad the next day because I'm a little bit out of shape for this kind of a walk. But meanwhile, if that wasn't interesting, how about the walk from the press box all the way down to the field, leaving the stadium and getting to the other side of the building just to get into the visitors, media room. So, but you know what? I got to tell you, it's a bucket list item. I hope to go there probably in 2 years, but the only thing I have some good advice for myself. I better drop 20 or 30 pounds if I'm going to see the end of this thing, because I'll tell you one thing, but I told my wife that I'm punished. She believed me because she had a lot of problems too. If you've looked at our posts on Facebook, check them out. So, you know what? Kudos to the Canes. We have Louisville this Saturday, and then we end up with Boston College. We're 6-4. Another win or 2 would be nice, but the plan is at least get to a bowl game built off of what Mario Cristobal is doing. All right, our next segment, what team needs to be fixed? All right, George Eichhorn.
Well, the team I'm going to pick that needs to be fixed is a team near and, well, maybe not so dear and near to Mel Farr's heart, but the Atlanta Falcons. Again, now they're sitting at 4-6, third in the NFC South, and they just continue to have problems trying to straighten this team out and put it on a winning way. They're going to do something at all. I mean, you're going to have to do something dramatic. I mean, bring in a new coach, bring in a new general manager. All that stuff hasn't worked. I mean, they got a good draft choice in Bijan, and obviously they have made some progress, but boy, oh boy, they're continual in this sort of meddling area of the standings. And the Falcons are, like I said, 4-6 now. I don't have a magic wand to wave. I mean, you're going to have to get help in all areas. But what about the rumor that I heard is that how about bringing in somebody like Belichick from New England and let him run the show down in Atlanta? I don't know if it would happen. I don't know if it's worth it, but that's something to keep in mind if you want to do something really dramatic. But my choice, Scott, would be the Falcons. They need to do something.
Okay, Travis. All right, Candy Evelyn's going to chime in on that injury. Here's what the injury is. Emory Williams suffered a compound fracture to his left non-throwing arm. There you go. So there's your injury, KR. Thanks, Candy.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything on anywhere other than he hurt his arm.
Okay. All right, Travis.
Well, I mean, you know me already, so hey, I'm going to keep it on the home team, Jacksonville Jaguars. We need to be fixed because the offense has not been what it was sold to be entering this season. It just has not. And everybody's going to say the scapegoat is, offensive coordinator Press Taylor because Doug Peterson is not calling the plays this year. And that may be the case. Honestly, we're hearing rumblings under the, not publicly spoken, that there will be changes this week. So we'll see how the Jaguars offense is going to look. If there will be any significant changes, apparently there was some conversation between the owner and the coaching staff. So maybe it's just some pressure. They could be switching over the playbook. Maybe they'll be doing the whole first half, second half split like they did last year, or maybe Doug Peterson may actually take over play calling. Who knows? We'll kind of see how that kind of goes, but it's going to be interesting because they've struggled with dealing with not having Zay Jones. He's only played in two full games this season, and he's their third receiver, but they're a 3-receiver bunch. Like they don't work the same without that third guy. So to fix it, yeah, I'm hoping and praying it's going to be Doug Peterson calling plays. Let's start there. And next year getting a new center because a Jaguar center is terrible. Luke Fortner, no one talks about it unless you watch the Jaguars like closely. They get pressure up the middle all day, and those are our biggest two issues that are making our pretty solid quarterback, if not generational quarterback, look very, very mediocre because he can't play with that pressure in his face.
Okay. All right, Bo.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's got to be the Bills, right? This was supposed to be maybe their last year in their Super Bowl window because they had a lot of contracts that are coming up next year. So I really thought that this was going to be that last push to make it happen. And it's really starting to look like last year was their last solid year in that Super Bowl window. It's if the playoffs started today, they'd be on the outside looking in. There's just so much wrong, especially, like we talked about a little bit earlier, the amazing amount of turnovers that they have. They've had at least 2 games with 4 or more turnovers. So, I mean, it's there's so much going wrong. It's interesting that was the coach that got fired because it's not like the defense has played consistent either. So, the Bills, if they want to have any hope of getting anywhere this year, they need to turn it around this week.
KR?
I'm going to go with the hometown Bucks. They got to fix their offensive line. I don't think Mayfield's a bad quarterback. I think he's pretty good. I think they've got a really good running back in Rachaad White, but he's got to have a little bit of area to run, and their offensive line just doesn't block anybody. Mayfield's, I hope he has good life insurance because he's going to get killed. And their secondary, I think last week they showed that I don't know if you can't play zone, how in the hell are you going to play man? And they keep saying we're better in man coverage than we are in zone coverage. I coached high school. It's easier to teach zone than it is man. And these guys look lost in zone. So I'm blaming Bowles on that. If I was a secondary coach last week, you better kept every knife and gun away from me at the end of that game because I may have done it. I mean, that was horrible. Now this week they look pretty good, but and I'm not a big Bucks fan. I mean, I watch them, but I'm an old guy. I'm a Baltimore Colt fan. They're not even around anymore.
Hey, KR, you just said something incredible. I'm sorry. You just said Baker Mayfield may be a good quarterback.
He's not a bad quarterback. I don't think.
Those are famous last words of every end stage on their deathbed team, whether it's the Browns, Rams, Bucks, etc. I think it's great.
Travis, if he couldn't run, he'd get killed. I mean, he's running. Point. He's taking 3. He's in gun. He's in spread. He takes 2 steps. And if Brady was back there, he'd be in the hospital.
Oh yeah, we agree.
Okay, Coach.
I'm going with Bo. I think the Bills. They got issues. I look at it. I mean, it hasn't been talked about enough, but I mean they've got big issues in the kicking game. They give up a lot of return yards. They had the issue with the 12 on the field cost them the game. But there were several plays in that game. Denver had great field position all day long because of kickoff returns and the punt return games. And then, I mean, if you can't cover, and you're playing for it, you got to be able to cover kicks in this league or you're doomed.
Okay. All right, Mel.
Well, I mean, the obvious team is, the New York Jets. They haven't been able to score a touchdown in the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's something they have to be able to do. The defense is playing lights out, keeps them in ball games. They had an opportunity to score. The quarterback, breaks a great run that just had, just the outside of his foot steps on the out of bounds line, and they still can't score from the 3-yard line or whatever it was. That's for me, that would be very deflating. If I was a defensive player, that'd be very frustrating for me. They've got to figure out a way to score a touchdown. And I'll be honest with you, the kid is playing a lot better at the position. I think they're doing things that he's capable of doing, getting the ball out of his hands. He's playing a lot better. Yeah, he did, throw some costly interceptions. But I think he's playing a little bit better. He's holding on to the ball sometimes a little bit too long. But I do think he's playing a little bit better, and he's giving them an opportunity to win. I think each week he's improving, and with Aaron Rodgers being there, I think that's doing nothing but helping him. But they got to figure out a way. They got to figure out a way to put the ball in the end zone.
All right, team I'm going to go with is the Arizona Cardinals, and I'll tell you why I'm going with the Cardinals. Number one, they got Kyler Murray back, and boy, they look different. This kid here, when he's upright and he's on the field, he's fast and he can make plays with his legs. And they got James Conner back as well. So if the Cardinals can somehow, some way stay healthy, this team could get fixed a little bit quicker. If for no other reason, it's not what they had on the field, it's what they didn't have on the field. So, so I'll be curious to see how the Arizona Cardinals will go ahead and fare during the second half of the year now that Kyler Murray is under center. Of course, they sent Joshua Dobbs over to Minnesota with the intent that Kyler Murray was going to go ahead and come back. So watch out for the Arizona Cardinals. All right, I have one more topic we're all going to have some fun with, and I know we were and are. Okay, so Sunday night, Super Bowl Sunday. Well, maybe not quite in the United States, but Canada, yes. All right. We have the 110th Grey Cup with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers against the Montreal Alouettes at 8 p.m. Don't know where you're going to find it, but anyways, you'll find it someplace. We find everything. So
CBSSN, it's on TV. I've seen it. I've seen the Grey Cup every year for the last 20 years, I bet.
All right. I know. If I understand correctly, in the United States, didn't CBS Sports Network buy the rights to the Canadian League?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, we have the Grey Cup, everybody. George Eichhorn. Who you got? Winnipeg, Montreal.
Oh yeah. Put me on the spot.
Don't worry.
Montreal,
there's other ones that we put on the spot like you, so don't worry about it.
Both those cities need a winning team. Let's face it. I'm going to go with Montreal because I once visited that fair city. Montreal had a weekend there, and I love that city. It's got great history, and obviously they haven't won anything in hockey in a long time, as you guys might know. So I'm going to go with the Montreal Alouettes at 11-7, and Winnipeg is 14-4. So I'm going with the upset. I'll take Montreal.
You don't have to worry about scores because I don't know how many people really know about these teams.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't want to punish you that bad. Maybe some of you know more than I do. All I know is there's no way we can talk about a football weekend as we approach Thanksgiving with the Grey Cup. Yes, that's my Canadian attitude. And my wife, every once in a while, knows I like to kid around about Canada, so she'll play the Canadian national anthem on YouTube for me. That's a little, you probably wonder why. In fact, I'll even take it a little step further. Over at one of my networking groups, they asked me what my favorite karaoke song was. And I said Hockey Night in Canada. And they laughed so hard they didn't know about it in these parts. All right, Travis, who you got?
This is a hard one. Seeing
Well,
as
sure.
I don't.
You don't know about the league, so take a guess, and you can't go
It's
Well,
wrong.
no. It's not that I don't know about the league. I don't watch it a lot of it though. That's the difference. But no,
Well, you're
because
better than
again,
I am, man.
we had Nathan Work on the Jaguars last year. Oh, this year,
okay.
sorry. So I kind of have to at least know some CFL. Um, and there is no real Nathan Work in this game. I'm probably going to go with Winnipeg because I'm a defensive guy, and they have the better defense. And at the end of the day, that's where I'm going to lean. I lean to what I know. So Winnipeg, well, they have the best record, but they have the best defense. They are the hard hitting, dominant defense. So I'm going that route. But no matter who wins, America wins because we don't have to watch this game.
Wow.
That may be the one. Tell me how you
You're
really
terrible.
feel.
It's fun to watch. 12 guys on the field. You can't even see the whole field on TV.
leave
It's so big.
Leave it to Travis. Come up with a Travis Holmes ism. That's why he call him Sherlock is his middle name. Okay.
It's a good thing Canadians are friendly.
Yeah, friendly, eh?
They'd have been at your door, man.
Well, hey, don't worry, Bo. I got a story that'll top.
He doesn't
everything
have
I
to
wanna
worry
say, Mike.
about them having any guns, though.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true. Whoa, this is fun. I knew this would be a fun topic. All right, Bo.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Winnipeg also. You know, I am also a defensive guy. I like a hard-hitting defense. And when they played each other earlier in the year, Winnipeg won 47-17. So that wasn't particularly close. So yeah, I'll go with Winnipeg. I don't think it'll be quite that blowout, but yeah, I think they. I mean, they pretty much handled most teams by 10. So I'm going to go with Winnipeg. Yeah.
All right, Carol Lombardi.
I go
You're
with the
probably
Blue
as far away
Bombers.
from Canada as anybody can be, right? Except
I
me.
go with the Blue Bombers too. I watched a couple of games this summer. I didn't watch as much as I usually do. Y'all know the history of the Canadian Football League? Y'all know what it started as? Anybody know? It was a rugby league originally.
Really?
And they morphed it into somewhat American football with some changes, obviously. When you can run the fade at the 3-yard line, you know, that's the end zone goes forever, which is we used to watch it as kids. It used to be on channel 38 for you maybe people that nobody's from Tampa, but it was fun to watch. 12 guys going in motion towards the line of scrimmage. It's crazy. It's a crazy game. And it's fun to watch if you like offense.
Well, you know what? If we ever have a Canadian Football League guest on KR, I promise you'll be on that show. Okay.
Well, Jackie Parker, one of the greatest Mississippi State football players of all time, is in their Hall of Fame. So
you seem to find a way to talk yourself on a lot of shows, but you don't have to worry about talking yourself on a Canadian Football League show. You've already sold 6 other.
I don't get to watch it enough, though. I really don't watch it.
No, but you know more than a lot of us do. Although I have a history with that league, which I'll get to when I get to my turn.
Good.
All right, Coach Bono.
Well, the Bills thought they were in the CFL and they could have won the game on. I'm going to go with Winnipeg as well. And I'm going to say I'm just listening to everybody else because I have not watched a single game in the CFL, nor have I followed any stats. And it's not anything against the league. It's just I have a hard enough time keeping up with all the college football I want to watch in the NFL. So Winnipeg.
All right. What about you, Mel?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Let's see. I'm gonna go with Montreal. Why not?
Okay.
This is above my pay grades, outside my pay grade. And so I haven't watched a single snap of and it's nothing against the football or anything like that. It's just, you know, I have a life too, and I have other things I like to do.
All right, well, you know what? Now it's time for me to do a little storytelling here. Number one, way back in the day when I was writing for the Detroit Sports Broadcast Association newsletter, the Montreal fans didn't particularly like me because I let them have it because they were booing our national anthem. So I was public enemy number one, and the word death threats were a reality. Okay. And number two, the Montreal Canadiens don't like me because I really called them 2 M words, although they're not swear words, but in their eyes they were. But the way things get picked up on Google, I'm leaving it alone. So since the Montreal Canadiens, well, heck, I'll put out there Montreal morons. All right, so it'll pick up when you're booing our national anthem. That was my answer to it. And boy, I'll tell you, I wrote 2 stories on it, and I don't think the Detroit Sports Broadcasters Association ever got so many hits. And George had to take that story down the first time. He thought I was going to get killed. So
Yeah.
Bighorn, I write another one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I made him put that one up. So,
Right.
but the Montreal Canadiens haven't won anything since 1993. So, you know what? You're never going to let me live it down for Montreal morons, but for some reason, I must be a moron anyways, because for some reason or another, I'm giving you the nod. I believe you guys are going to win. So I'm not retagging this show the moron, because who knows, we probably get our bitch share anyways. But all right, Montreal, let's see if you can at least get that title. We don't know when you're going to get Major League Baseball back, but maybe you'll have a championship somewhere along the
Isn't
way.
this game a week early? They usually play it on Thanksgiving weekend, I think. On Sunday, I thought.
Mhm.
Well,
It's a little
all
early.
the same.
It sometimes has been the Sunday before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. So, yeah, Montreal fans, if any of y'all are listening, I'm pulling for the Alouettes. Okay. And I'll see what happens when I go. I'm not putting those other stuff as hashtags, or I'll be crucified until I'm 90, although I'm thankful if I can. I live it one day at a time. And as Morris would say, Morris had 9 lives. I have to make the most of the one that I have. So go Alouettes! All right. With that said, it's time here in the broadcast to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. All right, George, lead off.
Yep. Scott's got a book out. Congratulations, Scott, on yours. And this is a copy of mine, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. And you'll be glad to know I don't have anything in here about Canadian football. However, as Scott remembers, there were a lot of rumors back in the day that they might play at Tiger Stadium, the move, or grant Detroit a franchise when they were thinking about expanding to the United States. And it never happened. But you can reach me at Yahoo at gicorn@yahoo.com. You can find me on the South Florida Network and the Motor City Tribune area, where I'm a writer along with Scott and Jeremy, a lot of other people. And you can also reach me on Twitter at SanGSports99. Great to be part of this show, as well as the baseball show and Sports Exchange and Pundits Pundit. Have a good day.
All right, Travis, you're up.
You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find me here every week on Inside the Pigskin as a panelist. You can also find me on the Duval Dive, as you see here in the background, the Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. That's every Friday at 11 a.m., wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find my writings for covering the Jacksonville Jaguars at bigcatcountry.com. And I'm a football analyst with A7BN Sports. Also, sorry for all the shame to my CFL folks. Shout out to my guy Tony Jones. He's a linebacker over at Edmonton. That's the real reason I watch the CFL, just to watch my guy when he gets his playing time. And I appreciate you having me as always. I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Well, you will. Don't worry. And by the way, you and Carol Lombardi will both be on a CFL show should we find a way and the material to put it together. You just drafted yourself for that, Travis boy. As Gomer Pyle would say, go away.
Hey, calm down. I don't love the game. I just support my people.
Well, that's good enough. You'll support them when we do it again. Now, another thing I should point out too, though, one of the first shows that we had on our network was with a psychologist by the name of Frank Lodato, a sports psychologist. He was one of the first shows I did on our network. All right, Bo, go ahead.
All right. Well, you can find me right here every Tuesday night, and of course on my channel at Football-Talk, on all the socials at Football Talk with Bo, and of course Roku TV on Thursday and Friday morning.
Okay, Carrie Lombardi, you're probably the shortest one of the group.
Yeah, Facebook. I'm not smart enough to write a book.
No, but you're smart enough to be in one like you are this one, so that's good enough. All right, Coach Bono's also in it. Just everybody on this group is in here.
I'm just like Coach. It's you're going to find me here or on LinkedIn, and that's it.
All right, Mel.
Find me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. and follow what we have going on for the youth at melfarr.org.
All right. Well, one last time, Inside the Pigskin being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're always looking to add more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas, South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954 304 4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes or giving us crack information as she did about Emory Williams. My book is Lessons from the Microphone. You can get it on Amazon and Kindle. Tuning into the enduring wisdom at visionary leaders. I'm looking forward to getting this out to a lot of budding podcasters or just anybody looking to get the ins and outs of what our industry is all about. Meanwhile, great job by my crew. Appreciate all your contributions. And obviously, we'll be doing it. We'll have our Thanksgiving show next week. So, on behalf of George Eichhorn, Travis, Sherlock Holmes, football talk with Bo Crouch, can always count on him, and KR Lombardi on Mr. College Football. Coach Bono is just Coach Bono. Okay, and Mel Farr is just Mel Farr. I'm Scott Morgan, Route to Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you the next time. Everybody have a great football weekend, and catch you next week. Bye now.